Welcome. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Count Frightculous, and I will be your guide into the chill, spooky scariness of the world, and maybe even perhaps the universe. Because the universe can be scary too. Have you ever seen that movie, The Aliens? Oh my goodness. But where our journey is taking us for now is down the path of the scary stories from long ago. And I can't think of any other time that it is perfect for going over the scary stories than now of all times, because it is the time of Halloween. Yes. You know, one of the things that is very good about the Halloween is the Halloween candy. Now, when I was a young person, I used to get the candy, and the one candy that I think I ate more than any of the other candies was the one that was called the candy corn. I don't know, did you have these? Did you eat these when you were a young one, huh? The candy corn, you remember these, right? Yes, very good there, the candy corn, you see it there, yes. All right, I used to nibble off. I'd take off the white piece, then I would eat the orange, then I would eat the yellow, or I'd go the opposite way. Actually, no, you always took the white first. But anyway, those candies, I could eat the candy corn all day long, right? You didn't feel like you ever filled up. Lots of empty calories and tons of sugar for you, of course. But there was another one that was very similar to the candy corn, and that was the pumpkin. Do you remember this pumpkin here? Yes, the pumpkin. Oh my goodness. This one now, if you could use an analogy for this candy, I would say if you were Pac-Man, right? The candy corn was like eating the little pellets as you run through the maze, and the pumpkins were like the super pellets, right? Because you could eat candy corn a lot, but I would eat maybe 2 or 3 of these, and I'm bouncing off the walls. My head felt like it was going to explode. It was like a super pellet, right? So anyway, the candy, oh, so good. The Halloween candy, it's a good time of year just to let it all go and divulge into your candy fix. Now, I need to get something. There's one other thing that, I was at the store and I happened to be walking around. I saw some decorations and the little knickknacks of the Halloween time. You see it everywhere, and I happened to find this little item here. I said, oh, that's a cute little ghost there. Look at the little, I don't know if it's in the focus. That's a cute little ghost there with the little Halloween bag, and he's wearing the witch. It's got out the elements. Very nice, cute thing. I said, oh, that's nice. I will pick that up. It's only $1. But then it's actually battery operated. And listen to this. When I turn it on, to my surprise.
Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat.
And then I thought to myself,
Trick or treat, smell my feet.
I thought, are they crazy? Who's going to smell your feet and then give you a treat? I think the way it's supposed to be is, they're saying, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. They're threatening you, basically. It's like, hey, give us some candy or we're going to do something to you. And I don't know how the smelly feet translates into, egging a house or putting the poopy bag on the porch or the toilet paper all over the house and the trees. Not that I ever participated in those kind of shenanigans, mind you, but to smell the feet. I have to warn you though, there's a one thing I must tell you. There is a smelly feet monster that you should be worried about, little kids, when you say things like that. There is this smelly feet monster. And someday, I will tell you the story of the smelly feet monster. But not now, no. This is not the time right now. We have other things to do. But I just warn you, beware of the smelly feet monster. Because if you're running around shouting, smell my feet, you're just calling out. You're setting up a buffet for the smelly feet monster. So be very careful yelling that out, chanting that to the people when you're asking for free candy, mind you. You should try to be maybe a little more nicer, be a little more courteous, They are giving you free candy. Maybe say something nice instead of threatening them with your smelly feet. You're trying to be a salesman here. You're trying to get the free candy, which you're probably going to get anyway. but at least make it worth the while. You might be able to get extra candy, you know, because you'll be doing something nobody else is doing, right? Everyone else is chanting, smell my feet, and you know, you better give me something good to eat. I'm going to pull your pants down, or whatever they're saying to them. And you walk up and say, you know, you're coming up to them and saying, hello, Mr. Gentleman. I really like all of the landscaping you've done here in your yard. It's very beautiful. You know, something like that. The man, oh wow, thank you very much there, child. Let me give you extra candy. It's just a suggestion. So go ahead and enjoy the Halloween time, but I'd say just stay vigilant, ever vigilant, looking vigilant, okay? Make sure you're staying very vigilant. Okay, so with that, we need to move on. We're going to get to our book of scary stories very soon. And I have to say, make sure you stay to the end to get the official rating by the Demon Baby. Yes, and she will do that with a 1 head spin, not so scary, to 5 head spins. Let's hope we can get maybe closer, more head spins, it being Halloween. I don't know. We'll have to find out which book it is that we're going to review. And yes, there is the knocking at the door, the knocking going on there. That is extra knocks, knocking a lot. Okay, it's Halloween and we're getting spooky knocking, a lot of knocking. It's the Grim Picker, and he has brought us the book of scary stories for us to review. And I must warn, as I always do, but especially here on Halloween, never deny the choice of the Grim Picker. Once the decision is made, it must not be undone, and especially on Halloween. So here we go. Let's check out the book of the scary stories. I'm already getting a little nervous. It looks like a good one. Let's go into the review now. Are you ready now to review this book of scary stories here at the time of Halloween? And most appropriately, we can see that this book is titled, It's Midnight, the Witching Hour. Yes, look at the cover. It's very menacing, I should have to say. The first thing we see is this boy looking very sinister, very evil and sinister, as he's reading a book of black magic. And he has a very disfigured witch standing over him, a very not pleasant looking person, a very not pleasant looking woman hovering above him, pointing the way. And then we have what appears to be his mother standing at the door with the door latched, saying, Orville, why won't you unlatch this door so I can meet your new school teacher? Well, if this is the teacher, he is in for a very bad lesson in life happenings. Oh boy. And the red is for dead. And look at the cat in the bottom there with the tail straight up. The cat looks horrified and yet very angry at the same time. It's horrified and it doesn't know what to do. I hope it's not because the door is about to close on the cat. But either way, that cat is very angry and very frightened. But the boy's face really tells the whole story of the cover. Look at his face. He is up to definitely evil things. And I do find it very interesting and ironic that up here there's a number for this issue of the book, and it's number 31. Ironic that we are looking at this on Halloween? Perhaps. Now, as we open the book, we will go into the first story here at Halloween for the chilling, spooky scariness of the scary stories in this book. Now, apparently, this book is being narrated by some witches, it appears. It's kind of a light-hearted view at this thing. So we have these witches. There's a one-page little introduction. It's kind of a funny story, just to kind of, I guess, lighten the mood after seeing that sinister face on the front cover. And it's these three witches. They're going to a picnic, and they say, "Oh, it's so hot. The soda pop will be too warm, and my toad's tongue and newt sandwiches will spoil by lunchtime." But the one witch says, "I have a good idea." And so they go off to the picnic, and then when they come back and they're ready to eat, she says, "Here, it's ready to go. Here we are, sisters. The soda pop's ice cold, and the sandwiches are fresh. Only Cynthia could have such an inspired idea." And they put it in the city morgue. And you can see here in this panel, look at this. They put it in with the body, no less, because that looks like the knees are up. I guess they would have to do that to get the basket in there. But how would they close the drawer? I don't know. But either way, it's a bit of humor to lighten the mood before the real sinister stories begin. And the first story is titled, "Red is for Dead." Now that does instill some fear, does it not? This story, if I can really surmise it very quickly, it's about a disturbed little boy whose mother has passed away and his father has been remarried. And so you can tell that he is dealing with some emotional problems because of this transition. So what the boy really wants to do is he's just trying to instill fear into his stepmother because he has some resentment for her. So all of the evil things that he's kind of talking about, it's really just to instill fear into his stepmother. We find out that she actually despises him just as much as he does her, it seems. But she seems to really be the one trying to manipulate the family to her own game, right? The father is kind of naive and doesn't seem to really pay attention too much, doesn't take a full interest in his son or even his wife to that extent. And so the wife, the stepmother, is the one that seems to be manipulating the situation, but the boy is the one that's really troubled in this story. So let's just go ahead and get into the story, and I can point out some of the things that I'm talking about. Here we go. So the son's name is Orville, and the stepmother's name is Doreen, and the father's name is Ed Craven. So here we go. Right away in the first panel, we get a very harsh reality of what is going on. As Orville says, "Very well, Doreen, if you must know, I'm killing people with black magic." That is horrific. The first words in this story is about him killing people with black magic. That is frightening. "I pick a name in the phone book, put a curse on it, then cross it with red blood red. Look at this death notice in the newspaper. You don't believe me? Sylvan Harper, 41, died of a heart attack last night. That's horrible, even to pretend, Orville. You think I'm pretending? You just can't believe anything you don't understand. Black magic has been practiced for thousands of years. You mean you learned how to destroy people from that book? Where did you get it? From a crate in the attic. It's been in the family for hundreds of years. Are you beginning to believe, Doreen? Do I detect some fear? A little perhaps, but Orville, must you call me Doreen? I feel very close to you. So you see that she seems to be trying to get close to him. She's trying to understand him, but all he's trying to do is to scare her, even by the fact that he's asking, "Are you afraid?" So you can see he's trying to use this to have power over Doreen. So she's afraid of him, so he can have control, right? That's what it looks like. We don't know if this is really true, what he's doing with the curses, but either way, the fact that he has those thoughts is very sinister, is it not? So he says, "I'll never call you mother. My mother is dead. Go away. Let me alone. Orv, please believe me, I'm not trying to come between you and your father. I know that's what's eating at you. I'm really fond of you. Go away. Let me alone." Someday you'll learn I'm your friend. You'll learn to like me. But then, as she leaves his room, we see something else going on in her mind. That warped brat doesn't hate me any more than I despise him. One of these days, I'll get rid of him. You see, now we see the real Doreen, and so she doesn't like him either. And so the fact that Orville has such resentment towards her is not totally out of line, right? Maybe he senses it too. Again, we see why he's doing some of this. Why'd you marry her, Dad? It was good when there was just the two of us. You had to bring her here and spoil everything. That's how we know that he's actually, why he's doing some of the things that he's doing here, correct? I've had it with that boy. He's got to be sent away, but I've got to make Ed think it's his own idea. And so when the father comes home, she starts to manipulate him. And she tells him that, Orville's been acting a little strange. I think you need to go and speak with him. And so then he's like, really? It can't be that bad. As I said, he's kind of just nonchalant about the whole thing, even though I think you should take a little bit of this serious. But look at what the dad has to say about this. You mean that skull? The old tobacco humidor? And the room looking as gloomy as Orv himself? Boys like to traumatize themselves. I did. See, he's just like, oh, don't worry about it. You mean the dead bodies and the sacrificed animals? It's no big deal. It's like, Dad, please, I think you should take a little bit of interest here with this. Of course, she, pries a little bit more, and he goes, okay, I will go talk to him. And then next, when he goes up, he tries to talk to the boy, and the boy is very resistant. He thinks that she's plotting against him, and the dad here, let's see, don't be insolent. Coming up here was my own idea. And he goes, get this straight. I want you to start making friends. I don't care who they are. I'm giving you 2 weeks. So he made an ultimatum on his son. You make friends. I don't care who they are. They could be the mafia. It could be the devil. Just make a friend. You know what I mean? That seems like a very just harsh statement to make to the boy. It gives him 2 weeks to make friends. It's like, Dad, what's going on? And so the father even hits the son, and he's very angry at this point, And so Doreen, trying to manipulate here, pull in the strings, she goes up to act like, oh, I'm the peaceful one, and goes up to talk to the boy, Orville, and Orville's like, you sent him up here, and he's like, oh, I told him not to do any of this, right? See, I got another one yesterday. Look at his name in the obituary. Now look in the phone book where I crossed it out. That's amazing, Orv, and a little frightening. So then you're afraid, not of you, Orv, of your terrible power. Someday, dear, you're going to learn I'm the best friend you've got. See, she knows. She's up to no good, but she's still trying to play the peacekeeper, the innocent one. And then here, the next move will be up to my old fool of a husband. So see, even she has disdain and sinistercism in her, more so than Orville. Hers, I think, is genuine. Orville's is just to try to get back at her for the resentment, having to have married his father, right? But hers seems to be more genuine sinistercism. She really has, because she doesn't even like her husband, apparently, and she definitely doesn't like Orville. I'm questioning why they got married anyway. Maybe he had some money. I'm guessing probably that, right? So then she calls him, and she tells him like, oh, you must come home. There's something serious going on. So when he gets home, here we go. All right, Doreen, what's this all about? I won't say a word. You go up and ask Orville about black magic. Get the whole story. So then he comes up and he says, Orv, I knocked off early tonight to see how you're coming along, son. I saw you drive up. What's all this? Little boxes that look like coffins and that old book on black magic. I haven't seen it for years. Black magic can give you power. You won't believe me, but I can prove it. But the dad, he just laughs as he leaves the room. He doesn't take it seriously. He really doesn't believe that he's using the book of black magic. He kind of sees through the whole thing in a way. And so when he goes down, she's like, did you see what's going on? And he immediately calls it out. Don't you see what he did? He crossed out those names in his phone book with a red felt-tip marking pen after he saw those same names in the death notices. And she says, of course, that's what he did, but isn't it frightening for a boy to think like that? Isn't it sick? It is kind of disturbing, Doreen. I will give you that, regardless if he's really trying to do anything or not, right? I mean, the fact that he thinks he can kill people that way, or just wants to kill in any capacity, is very disturbing for a boy of that age. You're suggesting I have Orv committed? You said it, Dad. I didn't. Well then, upstairs, all the hate and fury build up in Orv Craven. It's heavy, man. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't want to do this to you. It's the only way. You see, before he was getting so angry, he wanted to take it out on his parents. But at first it was Doreen, but because the dad was kind of, laughing it off, not really taking it seriously, even Orville started to have hatred towards his father, which I'm sure is exactly what Doreen wanted. She was trying to drive a wedge between the two. And here's where it ends. Back downstairs, Ed Craven gapes with utter horror as his wife goes ashen white. Her eyes roll up in her head, and she sinks lifeless onto the deep pile rug as the witching hour arrives. Doreen! Oh my God! And then we see the book. The phone book, right? And Orville has crossed out Doreen's name. And yet she did fall dead. So now you wonder, was this really what he was doing? Did he really have some power in the black magic? But then this is where the switch happens and you say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe he's just the innocent boy that made a mistake. Right here, they switched the whole thing. You think if it ended there, you'd be like, oh, that's very sinister and evil. No, watch how it calms everything, brings it back down, softens it up, the blow. I'm not smart enough to make a curse work. I wouldn't want to anyhow, really. I'm tired of this stupid kid stuff. Not that I don't wish Doreen would go away so I'd have Dad all to myself again. I'd better tear up this book on black magic. It could be dangerous if it ever fell into the wrong hands. You see, he was so angry and everything, and there was so much resentment in him, and he was such a bitter little boy. And then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, never mind, this curse stuff doesn't work, I'm tired of it. I'll rip the book up and just get rid of it. I'm going back to normal, right? Maybe that happened because Doreen was gone, and the anger was lifted away from him without him really knowing it. I don't know, but it just seems like, wow, they really took the guiltiness off of the boy, right? They made it just look like it was a pure accident that had happened, even though his intentions, I think, were very intentional. His intentions were intentional, yes. I could have thought of something better to say there, I'm sure, but this story is very frightening, and so I will use that as my excuse of why I didn't come up with something better there to say. But anyway, that is the story. And what do you think? That was probably kind of scary, the Book of Black Magic. I like how it started. It was very frightening at the beginning. I immediately thought the same thing. He was just crossing it out, and it wasn't really happening because, you would think that he would cross it out and then say, okay, watch what happens tomorrow. Instead, he's showing her at the same time, right? But either way, I was like the dad. I kind of figured it out right away. But it's just the fact that he was thinking that in the first place. That's what makes it very scary, right? Because a boy of that age, that is frightening to think, because he's very impressionable at that age. And the Book of Black Magic. But isn't it kind of crazy that the dad just had the book up in the attic? They kept that book for years and years. You wonder, why would you keep a book of black magic in your house? Something like that has such negative, evil intent. It can bring negativity into the house, especially if a young child like this gets a hold of it. But to have that negative object in the house can only bring evil into the home, which we saw. Because just think, if the dad they didn't have that book, and the boy didn't get a hold of it, they wouldn't have had this situation happen, would they? So I'm telling you, be very careful about the objects you bring into your home, and make sure that they don't have the evil attached to them, because you never know what you might be introducing into the sanctity of your home, which you want it to be safe, right? So anyway, let's move on to the next story, which this one is called A Badge of Courage. And it is very quick story. It's not a very long story. It's about the knife thrower, and he has his assistant, and he definitely has affection for her. He's in love with her, but she is in love with someone else, and so it angers him very much. And he warned her, hey, I told you if I can't have you, no one will. But then she does something to try to break that chain there, that kind of triangle that's going on. It's shattered at the very end of the story, and there's some tragedy that happens that I think could have been avoided very simply. So we start here. Sylvester is the knife thrower. Lisa is his assistant. Lisa, is that you out there? Come in this instant. Our act is on. So you're out there with Leonardo again, skulking like an alley cat. I won't have it, I tell you. Sylvester, please, you're hurting my arm. Am I now? Tempt me, tease me, enrage me, and I'll do more than that, my pretty one. He looks very sinister and evil. Would you work for a man like this who has knives and he's going to be throwing them at you, right? I mean, would you take a job with this man saying, don't worry, just stand against the wall and I'm going to throw these knives at you, but I won't hit you. And now he's sitting here saying these crazy things too. Look how he's tapping the knife with his hand. I think right there I would have gone, okay, I'll go get the job at the Walmart. Thank you very much, right, you know? But no, the story must go on, otherwise it's not going to be scary. Go on, take your place. The audience is waiting. Oh, he's whispering, I'm sorry. I've warned you a dozen times, if I can't have you, nobody will. See that right there? That's a red flag, huge red flag. Okay, I would just, instead walking to the wall, I would just keep walking right off the stage and leave, you know? Okay, the guy has knives, okay, and he's threatening you. I know there's an audience, but if he's so enraged, he's not going to care, you know? He just, love can make you do crazy things, right? Instead of trying to de-escalate it, she's just going to ramp it up even more. Watch this. Then you'll have to get used to the idea, Sylvester. Leonardo asked me to marry him. She's saying this to the man she knows is in love with her, right before he's about to start throwing knives at her, very sharp objects at her. I'm surprised he's not looking for an axe at this point to throw, right? I have unerring aim. Even at this distance, I can detect what your eyes tell me. Your answer was yes. And so over here, he starts throwing the knives, right? And Leonardo is off stage, cowering. He's so scared. He's like, why did she have to tell him? Why did she go on tonight? Doesn't she know he can pin her to the board right through her heart? See, Leonardo is not a dummy. He knows, hey, dude, don't be throwing shade at Sylvester. He's got the knives. He's very angry. Like, why did you do this? Like, get away, run away now, you know? But nope, she stands there, letting the knives go right past her. And Leonardo is saying, please get off the stage. The audience, you know, here it is. The audience sat in hushed anticipation. The soft drum roll quickened, grew louder and louder as the stiletto sped to its mark. And we see the knife going, but at the last instant, something happens, terrible happens. You think, did he actually hit her with the knife? But then they're in the hospital, rushing into the hospital. So you assume that she's not completely dead, right? Sylvester looks very distraught, and so does Leonardo. My throw was perfect, Lisa. I couldn't have hit you. Then how did it happen? And she says, it happened because I was afraid of you, because I hated you. That's why I moved my head to take your knife. See, she did it on purpose. We find out she did it on purpose because she said she wanted to destroy him. Look at this. Threaten me, will you? You'll never do that to anyone again because I've destroyed you. So this woman, instead of just walking away and saying, you know, Sylvester, this isn't working out. I can see there's a lot of, aggression between us. I have a fiance now. I think I should get another job. No, she's like, I'm going to ruin this man's career and my face at the same time. That's how I'm going to handle the situation. But you see how people react, you know. The situation, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you react to what happens to you, right? And she escalated. Instead of just saying, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to walk away, I'm wondering, why didn't Leonardo just say, hey, baby, I've got the job, I will work, you get away from the crazy knife thrower, right? Maybe he doesn't have a job though, you know? I don't know. But you would think that's what you would be doing as the fiance. Will you still love me, Leonardo? Could you love me now? Or will I repel you? So the thing is, now she's all worried. It's like, look, you're the one that moved your face into the knife. Here you think, uh-oh, he's in disgust, he's going to run away. And you see she has a very bad scar now. It almost looks like a spider. I would make it into a spider tattoo if I were her, and then she could maybe go get into a heavy metal acid rock band. You know, she would fit right in with that. No, he says, no, every time I look at you, I'll remember what you did, for me, for us. To me, it's not ugly or gruesome, but a beauty mark, your badge of courage. It ended happily, but it could have ended even more happily. Again, had Lisa just walked away, said, hey, there are plenty of jobs out there. Fast food always needs employees. Or maybe I could get a job doing something else, anything. I know I'm not trying to downplay Lisa's, you know, role in society. I'm sure she's maybe an intelligent girl. She doesn't act like it, moving her face into a moving blade, but I'm just saying, any job would be better than standing there letting this lunatic throw knives at your face. Let's move on to the next story. Now this one is only one page, and it's called Hold Hands and Die. Well, that's very sinister. I can't imagine that that's going to be a pleasant ending either, is it not? So, they're doing a seance, everyone's holding hands. We are ready to begin. Everyone take the hands of the person seated on either side. Concentrate on some dear dead one. Concentrate. But then we see, of course, there's a man over here. Oh, well, let me start with this. Through the dark powers of the occult shall we bring back this deceased beloved. There's always one person in a situation like this that doesn't believe. Usually they got dragged there, and this instant is no different. I don't know why my wife insisted I come here with her. I shouldn't have to submit to such nonsense. I'm not a well man. Well, what does that mean? Are you not well mentally? Are you like ill? What is that? I mean, that's kind of just a generic statement that he's making to himself. Why am I here? I'm not even well myself. She says, hear me, O immortal soul. I summon thee through the medium of the black arts. Come, come. And the man says, he must be deaf. He can't hear you, you old fraud. Now, why would he say this out loud? You know, just use your inside. He was using his inside voice. You know, if you don't believe in this. Now, this is kind of dangerous anyway, the fact that they're calling it the occult and the dark arts. But, you know, just let them do their thing, and you just keep quiet and focus on your inner peace, right? And pray for yourself that you are protected by white light and not be, you know, attacked by these dark energies that they're doing here. I would question your wife wanting to get into the dark arts too, maybe, there, buddy. What you're going to do is you're going to upset the old woman here that's doing the seance, as we find out. Look there, something materializing, cynic, skeptic. I knew the spirit would heed my call. Now what have you to say? And then the woman's like, wait a minute. Why? It looks like my husband. How can that be? And then the witch woman here says, because, madam, he just died. He thought I was a phony, but now he knows otherwise. Okay, so see, that's why you kind of want to keep your comments to yourself, because the old woman said, oh, you don't think I'm real? And I guess she put a curse on him. Now, he did say at the beginning, I'm not a well man. So maybe he just had a heart attack and it was just ironic it happened at that particular moment. But the fact that his ghost appeared, right, which she wasn't thinking of that, right? So anyway, it's kind of a sinister thing to happen, but the idea is, look, if you're a skeptic, just sometimes it's better to keep it to yourself, especially if you're in the middle of a circle that is about to do some dark arts. I would leave your comments for, you know, when you're at home, not in the middle. You know, you don't want to step into a lion's den and then start cursing at the lions, right? You would curse at the lions from behind the big glass wall in the zoo or the cage, you know, the bars that you know the lion's not going to get to you, right? So I'm just saying, that's again, a lot of times when these things happen, it's because they could have been avoided. A lot of times in all these situations, they could have been avoided with just one little minor detour and all of these horrible things could have been avoided. So it's food for thought, right? Okay. The last story in this book, The Scent of Death. Ooh, very scary title again. But I have to say, this story, the title is the scariest part of this story. It takes part in the Deep South. It's almost like a Ma and Pa Kettle type of family here, but they have this huge oaf of a son. For some reason, they don't like him. They don't even give him a name. They just call him Boy. And they put a big cowbell around his neck so they know where he's at. But he's always getting into trouble, apparently mischief. But he can't speak. He's kind of an oaf, you know. He's a mute, I guess, deaf, you know. He can't speak. Maybe he has a learning disability. Although he seems like he's not completely stupid. But it happens that there's a murder, and they think that the boy did it, and so they go to try to find him. And in the end, you know, the real murderer is revealed. And so let's go ahead and just quickly go through this last one, because it's really not that scary, but it's an interesting story, and it's part of the whole book, because when we rate the scariness of the book, we go through the whole thing. So we must look at this story anyway. But you decide for yourself. Lucky we still got food. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I had another argument with Mr. Parsons tonight. Said my tenant farm wasn't bringing in enough. The nerve of him, and you working dawn to dusk. You seen Boy coming home? No, I ain't sarn him. Boy, you hear me? Come on, boy. And then he's like, where you been, boy? You been up to some mischief? That's why we hung that bell around you, so as the kin always knows where you be, and you don't get into no trouble. The father, he's still upset because he's mad at Mr. Parsons, you know, because he thinks he's gonna lose his land. And the ma sees that the boy is upset too. She says, it appears like something upset him. Well, that Mr. Parsons, he upsets me too. If he can't set and eat like proper folk, get where you belong, like the other critter. For some reason, this elderly couple, they have such disdain for their son. And I don't know why the son doesn't seem like he's done anything wrong to be hated that way. But the boy is definitely upset. And all of a sudden, the sheriff shows up and says, there's been a murder. And a murder? What are you talking about? And the sheriff is going to arrest the father, because here, as we see, why are you telling us? What are we got to do with it? Not we, but you. You've been heard threatening Mr. Parsons more than once for warning he'd chase you off in his land. And tonight he was found near the creek. His body was crushed, his neck broken, like he'd been felled by a tree. Maybe he was, by last night's storm. No, 'twas a man who did it. A witness swore he saw a figure fleeing this way, even though it was black as inside an empty jug, and run over to this side of your fields. I gotta take you in. But then the father says, no, I didn't do it. Hey, maybe it was the boy. He was down at the creek. He blames his own son and says he's the one that probably killed him. And the sheriff right away says, I know you can't speak a word to defend yourself, but we'll get around to that somehow. Now don't make no trouble for me, boy. Well, of course the boy runs, and they're chasing him. They're trying to find him, and they finally find him in the town. The townsfolk, a lot of townsfolk are coming out now, because it's obviously a small country town, and they're looking for the boy. And then they say, anybody see Boy? You miss Amy? You see him go into your schoolhouse? Boy? No, I just came from my room in back of the school. So they're all looking, and then all of a sudden they hear a clang, clang, clang. Gosh almighty, there he is. He's up on the town hall with the bell for the town hall, and he looks kind of like a King Kong, or I kind of get the idea of a Notre Dame, you know, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, or something along that line. He climbs up on the tower trying to get away. And so, you know, they're all like, how are we gonna get him down? We don't want him to jump. But then the sheriff, you know, being kind of obnoxious, he says, that'd save me a mess of trouble. Because she says, he's so confused and frightened, he may fall or jump. And the sheriff, that'd save me a mess of trouble. And then the other man here, all of a sudden this other man says, he ain't gonna cheat justice. Mr. Parsons was a fine man. I'm gonna fetch him. So this man's name we find out is Ezra Lawson, right there. No, don't, Ezra Lawson. You may force him to do something terrible. Now, why would you call somebody by their full name? I know they're trying to identify this man in the story because where did he come from? But it's funny, it's like, hey, John Smith, don't go into the bank yet. I don't know what that phrase was supposed to mean, but it's like, I'm getting closer, boy, and you ain't going no place but down. Ezra is not too bright. I mean, look who he's trying to grab and throw off the roof. This man is huge. Boy is huge. He's an ox of a man. And this guy thinks he's gonna come up there and just push him off. Now, of course, he's the one we find out that committed the murder, but you know, how does he think he's going to push this huge hulking of a man off the top of the roof? It's kind of crazy, but here we go. Of course, Boy grabs him and brings him back down and throws him at the sheriff, and they say, what are you doing, Boy? Why are you throwing us Ezra instead of you jumping? Because Boy isn't guilty. It was Ezra who killed Mr. Parsons. Yeah, how could he know it was me back there in the black of night? His inability to speak was compensated by the strengthening of another of his senses, the sense of smell. Sure, he couldn't see, but he got a whiff of you back there, Ezra, and when you went up to fetch him or push him, he got the same smell. And so then they all like the boy, and the boy, you know, now they take the bell off his neck and they decide they're going to give him a proper name instead of just Boy. But I find it kind of confusing because how did they know that he smelled it? I mean, the man admitted he killed, the boy didn't know. I don't think the boy knew that he was the one that killed him, to be honest, because I think he may have just came across the body. But the fact that the man admitted to him on the roof, I don't think it matters that the boy smelled him or not. That was just what the townspeople thought, right? But the man admitted right to his face that he was the one that murdered him, and now he was going to kill him. I mean, I know Boy was not able to speak, but is he not able to draw a picture, like a piece of paper with a huge arrow and just point to the, you know, and just point it at Ezra, you know, make like a big skull and crossbones with an arrow and just point at him, you know? That would be easy enough. I mean, you don't have to speak to do that. I mean, I know the boy is not that dumb, right? But anyway, that's the story. It's not very scary. It ended well, at least, but I don't know where the fear of that one came from. I don't know why that was scary. That was just more of a sort of murder mystery kind of story. But anyway, that is the last of the stories, and I hope you enjoyed this book called The Witching Hour. You know, midnight, they say, is the witching hour, and it being the Halloween time, I hope that you can have a safe witching hour. So I know we talked about a few things here, and the one thing that I have to say is, you know, be careful what you do wish for, you know, be careful around the negativities. You may not believe in it, but negativity can instill some negative on you. If you're not able to defend against it, if you're weakened in any way, you know, your health even. So just be very careful. And you may say, well, Count Frightculous, look at you. Are you not afraid of the dark arts and the occult? Well, not really. I have a lot of experience with this type of thing, and I know how to protect and shield myself. And I even have something that I carry around with me all the time to help ward away the evilness that might be around. And that is called the demon repellent. Yes, it's very true. This is a real thing. It was developed by an exorcist priest. Yes, on Halloween of all times, to tell you about the demon repellent. This is the best time to have this, right? I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm just telling you, this is what I have, and it was developed by an exorcist priest that has done hundreds of exorcisms and dealt with the occult, dark arts, all of the evil that is out there in the world. Whether you believe it or not, there are a lot of negative intentions going on. And some people just need that peace of mind, that protection. But I carry the demon repellent, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the bottle completely, but that is, it does say on the bottle, demon repellent. So anyway, I keep this with me at all times, if possible, to help protect me when I feel malevolent evil or a bad force about me. Just kind of helps disperse the negativity in the air. Believe it or not. The witching hour, Halloween. I hope you have a safe Halloween, but now we must get to the rating of this book of scary stories, and to do that, we have the Demon Baby. No, I have never had to use the demon spray on her. So now, if Demon Baby will become aware and she has seen the book now that we are reviewing, she can give an official rating of how scary it is, or not for that matter. Let's do it now. And so thankfully, the Demon Baby is aware now, and she is ready to give us an official rating. It's Halloween, so we must be thankful that she can set some time aside for us, because I have to imagine this is a very busy time for her as a Demon Baby. But here we go. Let's get the official rating. That looks like one head spin there. One good head spin. Very good. And that is two head spins. Very good. 2 head spins. And will we have any more? Because this will be the highest we've ever had so far. And there we go with oh, she's starting with another, but she stopped. It's only a half a head spin. So 2.5. 2.5. Is that all? Yes. She's done. That tells us, all right, the Demon Baby gave us 2 and a half head spins for this book of scary stories. I was hoping maybe we could get the higher rating because of the Halloween, but I kind of feel like the book had some scary moments, but the book overall, all of these stories together, is 2.5. Because to me, the first was a little scary. That boy was very creepy, wasn't he not? Very creepy with the black magic and crossing out. I mean, just to be thinking about that, that's very spooky for a child to be doing that. But then the last one was just kind of, it wasn't really scary. Just a big oaf that couldn't speak, and you know, he solves the murder. So, okay, that's okay, but it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary. And the language with the old, you know, hick language they used, the southern language there they used, it was like a ma and pa kettle solves a mystery type of story. Anyway, all right. With that though, I hope everyone has a very, very happy and safe Halloween. Remember though, stay vigilant. Stay very vigilant. But for that, I will see you next time. And have a very happy Halloween. Yes, I was hoping there would be more of that coming up quicker. But there, have a happy Halloween.